Hi, my name is Madelyn Cline, and if you haven't seen episode 6, don't watch this. Carry on.
Sarah? What are you doing?
Hi, Top.
You look a little thirsty. You want, there's beers right there. You can grab a drink.
Never thought I'd be a beer cooler vagrant. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I thought you were more into, like, high-end heists now, like robbing trains, you know?
Sorry.
Which, no judgment.
I wouldn't blame you if you did.
Yeah, so in episode 6, Topper randomly, again, finds Sarah hitting the beer cooler. And I think it's just a moment of confusion, a moment of worry. And I think he wants to just sit down and figure out what's going on and give her kind of a sense of normality and just let her relax for a second, because she's obviously not doing too well.
How does JJ feel about his John B's father being back? I think because I was made a decision that he was happy and is so super stoked that he's alive at least, like he's alive. I think there's a little bit of jealousy though. I think JJ's a little jealous that his best friend has his father back and he doesn't, and that's in there a little bit. And he's a little worried that that's gonna change, like you said, dynamics. I think having a father figure that's back, that's happy to be back with his son, not a whole lot of posts, have a dad that's wanting to spend time with him a whole lot. So I think he's a little worried that he's gonna take John B away from JJ.
It was a dead end. A dry hole.
So that's the gold, the cross, and now El Dorado. We're 3 for 3, guys. The streak continues.
He knows. He knows, and he also is. He's like, it's your choice, man. I think we have that with our friends. We're just like, you know your friend's lying, but it's like you don't. You kind of have to understand why he's lying, and I think that's again, JJ gets it. He gets okay, your dad's back. You don't want to let him down. Kind of a dick move though, if you ask me. But your choice.
I think sometimes in moments like this, you have to. At 30 years old, my decision-making is going to be different than John B. at 17. And I think when you're still under the hood of your parents and they are keeping a roof over your head and they have led you down what you perceive to be the right path for you at that time in your life, that you follow it a little bit blind.
We're together, right?
Yeah.
So that means we always tell each other the truth.
Sarah, I am telling the truth. What? You think I'm lying? Is that what you think?
No, it's just...
No,
The story that you told us isn't really adding up.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt bad for both of them. I felt like, they were both kind of being, pushed and pulled in directions that we haven't really seen them in the past. And, we see this wedge kind of come in between them, and that wedge is unfortunately, his father, which you would never want, because you would want all relationships to live harmoniously.
It's hard to process, He's trying to do what's right, but he's also pushing away the one thing that I think he really does love, which is that he loves Sarah, and he wants to be with her and he wants to do right by her. And he's trying to, I think, but he gets caught, he's in this insane pickle. And how do you expect a 17-year-old to navigate knowing what's happened, sharing that, honoring your family, and then also being 17 and married and navigating the truth of what that means and the severity and the intensity of what marriage is.
I mean, obviously it serves story, but also I didn't want what happens between Sarah and Topper to happen if it didn't feel like there was some sort of reason to push her to feel that way, or to feel so confused or lost, because so far they've been really strong. And this was the first time we've seen them not very strong at all. And I also just, she's a teenager. That's relationships and dealing with relationship things. Like, that's all very human, and I think it's the first time she's kind of come to terms or come face to face with a problem like that. And I wanted to make sure it felt as real as possible. And I didn't want it to be just a purely selfish thing. Like, I wanted, I wanted to make it more complicated than that, I wanted it to be more complex, I guess.
My reaction whenever Sarah makes that move on Topper, I was like, wow, this is going to change everything. Essentially, Sarah and John B are married. They've been on this whole adventure, and so much is at stake. And John B's dealing a lot with his dad, going missing and all that stuff. So I'm like, what's the next episode going to be? What's going to be that moment when Sarah sees John B, and how is he going to react?
Well, we wanted to play the triangle in kind of a culminating way. We had to migrate Sarah's character to where you didn't hate her if she did it, where you could almost sympathize with her about. The fight with John B, riding all around, being miserable, homeless, all that was just to try to build like a curve of track that her character could go around, she could get to the place where she might hook up with Topper and you wouldn't hate her. That was what we were thinking about.
It was shocking. It was. I think sometimes in TV, you have these shock value situations, but I also understand from her character's perspective, she's lost everything because of John B. And he says some really terrible things to her about her father. And she finds comfort in another person. And that's life, when you're in an uncomfortable situation and she tries to go to more of another stable environment. She goes to Kiara's house and she can't stay there. She goes to JJ's and he's not there. And, Pope has Cleo in his house. So she's got nowhere to go. And her home is John B. And he's taken that from her. Topper just doesn't have any malicious intent. And he's like, hey, I'll help you out. I think it's a lapse in judgment for sure, but I think when you're vulnerable and you feel safe, things happen. John B continues to handle it in the ways that John B does. He's a little firecracker. But I think it's going to be a heart-wrenching moment for the audience, but I think and I hope that they understand both sides of the equation. I hope, Sarah and Maddie's character doesn't get, just slapped around for that, because I think it's not that cheating in a marriage or in any relationship is warranted, but I do think that John B puts her in a situation to be vulnerable enough to let that happen.
At this point in the story, I don't think Topper's trying to win her back. He knows when he is controlling and he's trying too hard, it pushes her away. At this point, he just wants the best for her, wants to give her a moment to relax, be with the Kooks, be like old times. They're out there, they're having a few beers and having an amazing sunset, a cool moment, and I think those feelings from high school came back, and the next morning, a little bit of weird emotions, maybe some regret from Sarah, but I think his heart was in the right place, and he wasn't, trying to hook up or win her back in that moment.
I got the gyms, all right, they're men's, okay? Yeah, I know, we talked about this shit earlier, I know.
You sure you want to do that? It's gonna feel real nice. Only for a second.
I don't care.
Care about your mother and your father. What would they think?
I think they would understand how I feel. For once, you would lose like we always do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anyway.
I didn't really talk with Carlacia about it because I really wanted to experience her talking me down for the first time. I wanted to just get myself that angry. I'm like, how angry do you have to be to attempt murder? And like, what are the things that would make me that angry? And like really think about all the loss of the script and all the hate he holds for kind of like this thing. And where is that hate coming from? Is it coming from Rafe? Is it coming from where are all of those places coming from? And to just kind of sit in that for however long until, you know, like it showed on my face. And shout out to Val, you know, who directed that that episode for, you know, being there and allowing me to like just like feel those emotions and just kind of sit there and really meditate on it. Yeah, and then when Lacey comes in, it's like, you know, that's the thing that pulls you out. And I really like just kind of wanted to like get there and like basically have her pull me out of it.
It was so deep because I feel like I really personally empathize with Pope, because I feel like, you know, Pope went through so much even in previous seasons. He always was kind of like losing something, so I could really feel like as a human being like what it could be like to be that fed up, but also putting myself into Cleo's perspective, which is like Cleo's always thinking like the bigger picture. Does this piece, you know, get us to where we want to go? And keeping you safe is Cleo's biggest thing. Like her thing is she respects your family, she loves your parents, and for her, bringing you back to them is what's important. So she didn't want to see like the pain on their face, you know, if anything happened to Pope.
And when he, you know, he breaks down, it's kind of that's her getting to his core, you know, and I think at Pope's core, he's not that person. He's not a murderer, you know, he doesn't want to be a murderer. And it's almost like, I almost played it like he was considering ending his own life, where it was like, everything you've worked for is gone. You go to jail, you're a murderer. Like, the person that you wanted to be is completely gone if you do this. You know, that's basically where he's at. And JJ runs around with a gun all the time, but he doesn't really want to shoot anybody. Nobody does, you know, like, you know, it's definitely like, he definitely thinks Rafe deserves what's coming to him, and he definitely wants to give it to him, but he just knows that this ain't the way. And Cleo has to kind of show him that.
Well, look who it is. Nice of you to show up. You gonna spill the beans? Gonna tell me the truth about what's going on?
Look, I know I've been a little shady. And stretched the truth a little bit.
Yeah, that's called lying.
Yeah, I know.
John B., what's going on?
My dad killed 2 guys. He was trying to protect me.
No, hold on, okay? You serious?
Yes. It was the guys from the Coast Adventure. They came here looking for Denmark's diary.
And your dad capped him for that?
Yes, an insane showed up, and they took my dad, and then they tried to kill me. They took him to South America, all right?
Whoa, South America?
Yes, they're on their way to South America,
hey,
all right?
On.
And then what? Then they're gonna off him, and I don't know.
Hey, hold on.
I don't know what to do.
Johnny, stop! Just breathe for a second.
So fun. That was a great scene. I love that scene so much. I think this season kind of moves fast, but that scene when we shot it was super slow, and we kind of took beats of silence and like shortened the lines let down. It was just let the silence speak, which I loved, I'll be honest, because it's like we had a telepathic conversation, and I thought we were, maybe not so much, the editors liked it, but like we had like a moment of where we just don't need to say anything, we just know, we just have that, and I feel like Friends have that, where they don't even need to say any words, you're just kind of looking at them, and you're like, I know kind of what happens, until he drops the bomb. My dad killed some people, and then that's like, frick. It was a fun time with that.
That started and starts this journey of the John B. and JJ world in a way that Rudy and I have kind of been dreaming about for a while now. And Rudy and I have had a lot of those conversations outside of work, and have, you know, we started out living together the first season and have had a lot of life experiences as well. So it felt very truthful, and Rudy and I have a very special relationship outside of the show, and have been developing these characters in our living rooms and doing it since before the first day of cameras rolled. And so getting the opportunity to have that vulnerability and to see these two best friends who haven't really had a lot of screen time together, and to send them on this kind of Butch and Sundance-esque type of journey in the next episode was really cool. And I think it's a sign of growth for John B. You know, I think it's him trying to put the right foot forward. You know, enough's enough, and I need to come clean, and I need to be honest with people that are my family, you know, and it starts with JJ, because he knows that the Sarah dynamic is something he's gonna have to figure out, but it's why you got your best friends, you know, you gotta have people to lean on.